Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, March 17th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gen. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. The European Medicines Agency say regulators are firmly convinced the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine outweigh the risks. This comes as a number of European countries have halted the use of the vaccine due to concerns over blood clots. The U.S. Secretary of State and Defense are coming to Seoul today for talks with their South Korean counterparts. They're expected to discuss the ROK-U.S. alliance and North Korea issues. And South Korea reported job losses for the 12th straight month in February as the coronavirus outbreak continued to deal a blow to the job market. We begin with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 469 new cases on Wednesday, jumping back above the 400 mark. Of the new cases, 452 were locally transmitted and 17 were from overseas. There were 8 more deaths. Meanwhile, more than 18,000 people received their first dose of the vaccine on Tuesday, bringing the total number of jabs given so far to over 621,000. The head of the European Medicines Agency say regulators are firmly convinced the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine outweigh the risks. The comments come as a number of European countries have halted use of the vaccine due to concerns the shots could cause blood clots. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
According to the head of the European Medicines Agency Tuesday, health regulators remain firmly convinced that the benefits of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccines outweigh the potential risks.
So while the investigation is ongoing, we are still firmly convinced that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine in preventing COVID-19 with its associated risk of hospitalization and death outweigh the risk of these side effects.
The remarks come as a number of European countries have halted the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine amid concerns these shots caused blood clots in some recipients. However, the official shot down those concerns, saying there was no indication the vaccine caused such adverse side effects.
So I want to also stress that at present, there is no indication that vaccination has caused these conditions. They have not come up in the clinical trials and they're not listed as known or expected side events with this vaccine. In clinical trials, both the vaccinated people and the people who received the placebo have shown some very small numbers of blood clot developments.
Cook added that an expert panel is currently investigating a potential link between the vaccine and the small number of blood clots, and will release their conclusions on Thursday. Several European countries have suspended the use of AstraZeneca's vaccine, but the WHO also maintains the vaccine is safe and effective for use. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
A new COVID-19 variant has been detected in Brittany, France, prompting scientists to investigate further. According to the local health authority on Monday, there have been 8 cases of the new variant, which were identified while studying a cluster infection in the area. They added there were no signs of the variant being more contagious or deadlier than earlier strains. However, they are trying to establish whether it is harder to diagnose, as a number of patients' PCR tests returned negative, with infections only confirmed through blood samples. The U.S. Secretaries of State and Defense are coming to Seoul today for talks with their South Korean counterparts. The likely topics of discussion this afternoon are likely to include the ROK-U.S. alliance and North Korea issues. The officials' visit comes after their brief stay in Tokyo. Our foreign affairs correspondent Yoon Jung-min has the latest.
Due in Seoul on Wednesday are U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, the first cabinet-level officials to visit since President Biden took office. Blinken is expected to stay for 2 days and Austin for 3 days. On the first day, they will be meeting with their respective South Korean counterparts, Foreign Minister Chung Eui-yong and Defense Minister Ho. On Thursday, the South Korean and American officials will hold the first 2+2 meeting since 2016, and they'll attend the signing of the new Special Measures Agreement, which governs the allies' defense cost sharing, and hold a press conference.
The fact that both the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense are visiting South Korea together at the start of the Biden administration and are holding the first 2+2 meeting in 5 years reflects the Biden administration's strong determination and its high regard for the South Korea-U.S. alliance.
Seoul's foreign ministry says the agenda mainly covers Korean Peninsula affairs, the bilateral alliance, and regional and global issues. Details were not given, but it's likely that the officials will discuss the denuclearization of North Korea and the new U.S. policy on North Korea, which is currently under review. The agenda could also include the transfer of the wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul, as well as cooperation between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo, possibly against the rise of China. Other issues include the fight against COVID-19 and climate change. After those talks, Blinken and Austin are expected to meet with President Moon Jae-in on Thursday. Before coming to Seoul, the U.S. officials were in Tokyo on Tuesday for talks with their respective counterparts, Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi and Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi. The U.S. and Japan reaffirmed the importance of trilateral cooperation with Seoul for the complete denuclearization of North Korea. Observers say that by choosing Seoul and Tokyo as the first destinations, these official visits show the Biden administration is prioritizing Asia in its foreign policy and national security policy. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Now, providing no direct response to North Korea's recent lambasting of the South Korea-U.S. joint drills, the White House says the objective of its North Korea policy is always going to be on diplomacy and denuclearization. Our Kim Hyo-san reports.
The White House stressed Tuesday that diplomacy and denuclearization will be the focus of its policy on North Korea. The remark followed Pyongyang's warning against Washington for its joint military drills with Seoul, but the White House did not comment on the regime's statement. On Tuesday, Kim Yo-jong, sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, slammed Seoul and Washington's joint military drill, also threatening to abandon the two Koreas' military peace agreement and even abolish its organization in charge of inter-Korean affairs. In addition, a U.S. commander has expressed concerns over the fact that the North has achieved, quote, alarming success in nuclear and long-range missile capabilities, which he said includes 3 ballistic missiles that could reach the U.S. homeland. In a statement submitted to the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee on Tuesday, Air Force General Glenn Van Herk, commander of U.S. Northern Command and North American Aerospace Defense Command, said the regime may resume its long-range missile testing for its newly unveiled ICBM. The statement also explained that the regime strongly believes that such weapons are crucial for the North to deter U.S. military action and ensure its survival. He also said the North has already declared it's no longer bound by the self-imposed moratorium on nuclear and long-range missile testing announced in 2018, which signals the regime may resume testing in the near future. While his warning does not entail details on the regime's immediate plan for a nuclear weapon or missile test, Van Herk underscored Washington's concerns over Pyongyang's continued plans to expand its arsenal. Kim Hyo-san, Arirang News.
As employment figures continue to tumble due to the pandemic, the number of people employed in South Korea has declined for the 12th month in a row, the longest period of decline since 1999. According to Statistics Korea on Wednesday, about 26 million people were in employment last month, 473,000 fewer people compared to the same period in the previous month. This raises February's unemployment rate to 4.9%, up 0.8 percentage points on year. The employment rate for those aged between 15 and 64 fell 1.5 percentage points on year to 64.8%. South Korea's Finance Minister Hong Nam-ki on Tuesday pledged that the government will disclose measures to root out instances of land speculation and reform the LH institution by the end of this month. Hong said the measures will include ways to prevent the recurrence of illegal activity in the real estate market. The minister added that the government is currently looking into family members of LH employees and stated that any offenders will be subject to the highest level of punishment. Regarding the institution's reforms, Hong says the government is reviewing the most powerful, innovative, and rational options. Samsung Electronics acquired the highest number of patents at the European Patent Office in 2020. Its domestic rival LG Electronics was in third place. According to a report published Tuesday, Samsung's overall patent applications filed last year was nearly on par with 2019, despite the pandemic falling only 0.7%. Adding that South Korea was among the top 10 countries with an increase in the number of patents. The report noted that Korean firms were particularly active in electronic machinery, telecommunications, and semiconductors. A special envoy to the UN from Myanmar's disbanded democratic parliament has warned that the country will witness its greatest civil war if violence continues without strong measures from the international community. This comes as Myanmar has seen more than 180 deaths since the coup began. Our Choi Min-jung reports.
Myanmar's special envoy to the United Nations has warned that the country might face the greatest civil war it has seen as deadly violence continues to escalate in the region. According to Sky News on Monday, Dr. Sasa, the international envoy appointed by the disbanded Democratic Parliament, said the country will plunge into civil war if international coalitions do not take action against Myanmar's army. The envoy called on countries to impose coordinated, targeted, and tougher sanctions against the junta. In response, Myanmar's military on Tuesday charged Sasa with high treason for his act to overthrow the army. Meanwhile, the army's deadly use of power against peaceful protesters continues to intensify in Myanmar. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, some 183 people have been killed since the military took power in a coup on February 1st. The country saw the greatest single-day death toll last Sunday, with more than 70 people dead. The junta also consolidated its power by declaring martial law in a large part of Yangon. Earlier this month, pro-democracy leaders called on international oil and gas companies, including South Korea's POSCO, to suspend all business ties with the military junta in a move to block the military from receiving foreign revenue. Myanmar's news agency says around 60 local workers from POSCO have stopped working to join the civil disobedience movement. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
And now, a year into the pandemic, the South Korean government has launched a website so that people can see in numbers the social changes the pandemic has caused. To name just a few, we can now see data such as the number of people taking public transportation or using food delivery apps. Our Peunji has more.
The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted everyone's lives, and the government has launched a website that provides data on exactly how much it has changed our lives and the economy. The Finance Ministry and the Korea Development Institute said on Tuesday that they have launched a website called the COVID-19 Board. The website provides data on what has changed since the outbreak in 8 different fields, including consumer spending, life, education, public transport, and culture. For instance, since last August, when stricter social distancing measures were put in place, more than 100 million people a month have used food delivery apps. And as more people started to work from home, the number of people using video conferencing apps has significantly increased as well. In January 2019, only about 5 million people used these services, but starting March last year, they became far more common. Nearly 10 million people started to use video conferencing apps in March, and in December, there were more than 33 million users in Korea. The website also lists the latest news on the COVID-19 situation in South Korea, such as the total number of confirmed cases and cases by region. The ministry said it hopes the website can help citizens understand the current trends caused by COVID-19. 배은지, Arirang News.
Good morning. The season's first yellow dust that swept Korea yesterday was not as bad as we expected, but those of us in central western regions will need to keep an eye on dust levels as the yellow dust will linger through tomorrow. Well, it was a chilly start to the day. Lows were in the low single digits for most parts of the country, but highs will rise quickly to the upper teens, leading to wide temperature differences across the country, so be sure to dress accordingly. It's easy to catch a cold around this time. Other than dust-affected regions, other areas will enjoy sunny skies and decent air with afternoon warms. It's going to feel more like mid-April across the country. In fact, sub-freezing readings in Chuncheon will jump to 18 degrees Celsius by the afternoon. Jeju will see rain on Friday, then nationwide rain is in the forecast for Saturday, while the temperature roller coaster we are on will continue for the time being. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Korea rolled out